I'm Cassidy. Welcome to the Fab Factory. It's a really cool studio here in North Hollywood. I'm gonna sign in real quick, and then we're gonna go check out Michele's studio. So again, we're here at the Fab Factory. It's a really cool place. Just wait till you see what's in here.
I am Michele Canova, Iorfida. I basically do most of the time production, songwriting, and mixing. And I produced a lot of the biggest artists in Italy, like Giovanotti, Tiziano Ferro, Eros Ramazzotti, Giorgia. I was lucky enough to work through my Italian artists with big international artists like Alicia Keys, Kelly Rowland, John Legend. And I worked with Alanis Morissette in the past, produced one of her songs, and songwriting with a lot of great top liners in Los Angeles.
If you haven't noticed, there's quite a bit of gear behind us. Michele's gonna take us around and show us all his great gear. So, Michele?
Cassidy, for sure. I'm gonna show you first my left side, which is basically all synthesizer, both analog synthesizer here, big Euro modular. They're made of oscillators, drum modules made of sequencers, VCAs, basically all you need to create like an incredible big monster synthesizer. And then more modern synthesizer on the left side here, electromechanical remake of classic like the Rhodes and clavinet right here. And then even like some guitar pedal stuff.
Nice.
Up here. Down here, I have my small like pedal boards for guitars and guitar amplifiers there and an aux amp to catch, the speaker output of my vintage, like tube amp. The central part is my creation desk where I have like my DAW, I have some sequencer, some mastering stuff on the right, and some beat creation on the left. This is a particular desk, it's a sit-stand desk, so you can bring it, at an upper level, or you can get it down, depending on how strained your back is, and if you are still playing music at 5, 6 p.m. in the afternoon, you would want to stand up and then still play. On the speaker side, my Augsburger Duo 8 with sub 12 stereo subwoofer. I love them, I trust them. And then Amphion speaker that I constantly work with for producing music and then for checking the mixes at lower levels. We still have like some synthesizer left over the subwoofer. On my Outboard gear setup, which is on the right side of the room, equalizers, compressors, filters, preamplifiers, and all my audio interfaces down there.
Wow, that's a lot of gear to keep track of, man.
A lot, yes, and it's constantly changing, by the way.
Well, nicely done. How do you keep track of all of this stuff?
That's actually what I want to show you today, how I keep track of all my Outboard gear through my SoundGrid system. I want to really show you how all the things are connected through the SoundGrid system and through all the interfaces deployed all over the studio. SoundGrid really makes my life as a studio owner of like a pretty complicated setup much easier. And it really made it much easier, especially in the way that you can deploy interfaces everywhere in the studio with just one Ethernet cable and simply, connect like a bunch of Outboard, a bunch of synthesizer, a bunch of modular synthesizers without worrying about, laying, cables and DB25s and word clock, because, the SoundGrid system clocks itself through the Ethernet cable. And that's a big plus for me, because you don't see like a lot of cables, running through the studio. And also, it's very incredible for the fact that you can offload plugin processing in the DSP of the server without taxing your own CPU that may not be, big enough to to take on like 20, 50, 60 plugins while recording, The fact that you're offloading all the equalizers, compression, distortion or whatever plugins on the DSP side of the server, it allows you to have like more space in your CPU for native processing of virtual instruments and instruments and whatever you're using. Yeah, for sure, If you're just starting out and just buy your first synthesizer, let's say a small Moog or whatever, a Roland or Korg, like a small synthesizer, and you want to record that through a SoundGrid interface. It's fantastic, not only because you are getting like one of the highest quality in audio recording, but also because while you're recording the synthesizer inside the system, you can apply real-time plug-in processing, let's say an equalizer, or let's say distortion, let's say parallel compression. You're recording like a drum with your synthesizer, and you want to already apply some kind of distortion and parallel compression. You can do it without affecting your CPU, and in real time with a latency as low as 0.8 milliseconds. So it's like comparable, actually better than every other like real-time DSP system that I ever know. So it's incredible. So you don't even perceive the latency, basically.
Yeah, which is just
and you can
amazing.
do that multi-channel. So you can get into, even if you got one keyboard that can have like 4 different like outputs.
Yep.
You can record 4 different outputs in 4 different inputs and process in every single one of those inputs. With different plugins. So it can be a kick and a drum and a hi-hat, and you can still process those separately and inside your SoundGrid system, while recording into your DAW of choice. So before even hitting the DAW, So it's like going through like hardware setup, like a proper hardware setup, like having compressors and equalizers and distortion devices, like
what you have here
on my right, But actually, they are virtual and they're inside the system. So it's pretty cool.
When you want to leave in the afternoon, you can take essentially this whole thing with you and go sit at the beach and do your thing.
That's actually a thought that I had like a lot of times, especially having Malibu so close.
Right? You just need a little compressor or a Jenny to run their power and you're good to go.
In my case, SoundGrid is really helping me to hook up all these things together. We're talking about probably 36 to 48 inputs that we are using right now. And it's all about connecting all the synthesizer on the left. It's about connecting the guitar pedals. It's about connecting the outboard on my right. Everything goes through a separate input on 3 different IOX interfaces, which are basically 12 inputs each, and one of them is right here down on the desk, and 2 of them are closer to the modular system, and then DigiGrid D system, the Cube desktop right there, that's getting more the smaller setups, the semi-modular synthesizer from Moog right there, and then it's very handy because it has also a mic input like the IOX, so I can always hook up a dynamic microphone to get like some top liner to sing over the beat I'm making, and without running cables like that goes in, all around the studio. And then another cool stuff is that both the IOX and the Cube desktop, they have headphone outputs, so I can always send an headphone mix to wherever they are without like running or having like longer super wire like going through the studio. That's another plus. On top of that, the patching capabilities that are inside the system, they are incredible. You can basically connect every device to every other device. So to create basically infinite virtual like connections that goes through like a distortion device, is, like a synthesizer inside of the distortion device, and then back to the DAW, without basically with a touch of a mouse click, And I would love to show you more in depth, what can we do like with the software.
Yeah, if you can't tell, I'm kind of getting excited to see that because I get what you're saying, but I think we all want to see it. Yeah,
totally. Let me start with the SoundGrid Studio application that's running already my computer. So this is basically the core of the setup and the patching and the DSP possibilities of the SoundGrid system. I will quickly just show you the setup, page, which is really straightforward. You see basically all my hardware interfaces on the left, so it's cool. You see like the 3 IOX that I named.
That you're talking about?
And I named with like, you can basically rename whatever you want. So I call it modular. So basically this is the IOX. This is actually 2 IOX dedicated to my modular system because there's a lot of outputs there. So it's almost like 24 outputs going inside this. And then I have another IOX called desk, which is the one that gets all the synthesizer, that one, and all this beat making stuff on the left. And then I also have the small DigiGrid D, the cube that we see it here. It's cool because you can also set up all the mic pre's from this page. So if you have something like I told you, like a microphone set up right here, it's super easy to just click on this and basically set up everything inside here. You have all the options here. And basically, let me show you. I want to show you the IOX, so it's more comprehensive. So you have all the gains here, all the pre's. And you actually, another cool stuff is that you can actually see if some signal is coming through. So it's pretty cool. Like sometimes, you don't know exactly what you connected to what, and you need like to start a drum machine, and you don't know what the input is, and you like quickly see both the input and the outputs going out here. You have both a fine control and a gain control here. So
Very
it's pretty
nice.
cool. And then you can remember that another big plus of the SoundGrid system is that the clock, so the typical clock that you run with a wall clock cable, with a BNC cable, it runs through the Ethernet cable. So on the same cable where the audio is going through, the clocking is going through. So you can actually check if your sync and if your like frequency is perfectly synced with the main system, and then if you're slave or master, and actually if you're synced over Ethernet or not. So that's pretty cool. On the same setup page, you can actually see computers that are connected through the Ethernet, your same network, that are running the SoundGrid driver. Because another super incredible plus about SoundGrid is that, let's say you're working with a friend that's making a beat in his own laptop, and he's showing up, and he's using Ableton Live, he's using Fruity Loops, he's using whatever, Logic. If you let him, and it's totally free, install his SoundGrid driver inside his computer, and he connects Ethernet cable in his computer, you're gonna see his computer in your SoundGrid system.
Really?
So
There, it'll pop
right
up.
there and on your DAW of choice. So it's so easy for someone working with you on a laptop with his own DAW to play and record and send through your system just with the Ethernet cable directly in your Pro Tools in this case.
So no bouncing down for somebody else, learning another software. You can show up with just your ideas.
It just works. Just Ethernet cable. Power, obviously, for his laptop is going to consume a lot of power, and then directly here.
That's pretty awesome.
And that's a feature you can see on the setups. So you can see, like in my particular case, you see my PC on the left that shows up here, and then my main computer, which is the computer I'm running SoundGrid into, because you can configure your own local computer to be seen as another SoundGrid source. So it's pretty handy for one reason that I use a lot. Route your own sound, your own core audio, like main sound, the sound where all the, let's say, or main sound output comes out. Let's say you're running Apple Music or Spotify. You can quickly route that through SoundGrid to make it come up in your DAW of choice. So it's easy, and it's so easy also to show it here, because you see my computer normally is going through a digital output, but if I want, I can just route it through Wave SoundGrid. So it's pretty easy. Once it's gonna be here, if I play something from Spotify, whatever it is, look, it's gonna show up, and I'm gonna pull up the input real quick. So I have an input called Mac SoundGrid, and as you can see, the sound is coming out. You can also listen to it for a second. That's cool. So it's pretty handy to have like a software driver that can be routed through SoundGrid. And then on the right, we have still the server. So another big plus of the SoundGrid system is that offloads DSP processing of Waves plugin and other compatible plugin with the SoundGrid standard to a DSP that's inside the servers. In my particular case, I have a DLS server, so it's taking care of the plugins that I instantiate on the mixer that we're gonna see later. And so this is just on the setup page. This is just to show you that you have a server in your network.
Got it.
Let's move to the patch bay, which is a big part for me and was basically one of the selling points of the system. The cool stuff is that I use a lot this option, device to device. So that allows me to connect all the devices, all the inputs that I have in every one of these IOX or DigiGrid D. I can connect those in every other input of my same interfaces, so all the IOXs, but also because my DLS servers is connected to my Avid HDX system. It's incredible how easy you can connect every input, so every synthesizer I have in every input of my HDX system just by clicking with the mouse. And let's say, let me do a quick example. Let's say, and we can actually read my setup. So as you can see, my modular number, like the input 1, 2, 3, and 4 are easily connected into the DigiLink 13, 14, 15, and 16, as you see from here, basically. So, and it's real time. So even while I'm playing, I can repatch everything to different DigiLink, and it will show up in my I/O setup like real time. So even if I have like in record or input all the channels, it will happen instantly, like with the flick of a switch. So it's gonna be incredible. But also, bear in mind that this is not only about inputs, it's also about outputs. So I can reroute an output coming from Pro Tools to whatever input I have in my synthesizer to filter, I don't know, a vocal into a Moog synthesizer, and then get back the Moog synthesizer inside another input in Pro Tools. So virtually any connection I can do it inside this patch bay.
I get why you use it. I mean, it's...
And let me do another example. Let's say that I'm getting a keyboard, like a Rhodes keyboard, but I would love to hear that keyboard through my Culture Vulture distortion device.
Absolutely.
I can just patch that, because I know, obviously, I have to know the input and the output, but you also can easily rename, everything. And then I can easily route the Rhodes through that, and I can route the output of those in an input of my DAW of choice, which in this case is Pro Tools. So it's gonna be, and then basically virtually with no latency. That's another big plus,
It's amazing.
Then I would move to the last part of the SoundGrid Studio application, which is the mixer, which is incredible, because this is where you see in action the DSP offloading, the offloading of the plugins in the DSP server. So basically, this will act as a mixer, so where you can get basically every input of your SoundGrid system. Nice. You can get it easily inside one of this channel. And inside of this channel, you can also use real-time plugins to, with no latency, basically, to track through. So let's say, let me do a quick example. I have an MPC here, which is already connected to the input one of my SoundGrid Studio mixer. And as you can see, actually, we can open the input here, so to make you listen to, 1 second. Here we are. So,
nice.
So we have a kick, we have a snare, we have everything. And not only basically the latency is non-existent, so it's lower than 0.8 millisecond. As you can see, it reacts super quick. But I can apply real-time plugins just by, let's say we want to beef up this kick with some Pultec or some, here we are.
Nice.
And then we open that. And while I'm playing, let me just record something real quick. And then.
And that's huge, because when you're recording somebody and you want them in the vibe, or you want them to have the reverb or whatever they want as a recording, this is huge.
You said reverb, why not?
Yeah, there we go.
Putting Abbey Road plays on this just for fun.
Yeah, why not? Come on.
And basically, let me show you this. While the beat is running. Listen,
wow.
Latency
so it's still running all of that, and it's still spot on.
Look, let me record something over it.
Sure.
And as you will see, it's basically almost no latency. I was able to properly dial the beat. Without any problem, like timing-wise. It's still, even if it's going through a Pultec like equalizer and the Abbey Road reverb, you can still see that, you can perceive that there's no latency. And let me go harder than that. Let's put now an equalizer, or let's put a compression. Let's put a Quick Child. Let's put that, and let's go hard on the compression just for the sake of it. Let's go on time constant 1, and then let me show you how still.
That's incredible.
I'm able to properly dial the beat and record the beat over. Auto quantize.
I love that.
And it's still reacting pretty fast. That's a big plus, especially if you're tracking through the SoundGrid interface and through a server to be able to carve your sound before even hitting the DAW. You know? And then obviously with the SoundGrid Studio, you can do that with multiple channels. So we're getting a stereo input for the MPC, but I could technically connect other gear in the mixer and having those gear processed by Waves or compatible SoundGrid plugins, which there are a lot, by the way. So look at just that dynamic-wise, there's a lot. And basically almost, I would say 95% or 99% of the Waves plugin are SoundGrid compatible. And think about the possibilities to like real-time recording, even a band. Like
absolutely.
I would say, and going through like compression, equalization, distortion, while not perceiving any like perceivable latency, and creating with this mixer also headphone setups for everyone in the band. Because as you can see, not only we have a space for the plugins here in the rack, but we can easily route everything in everything. So basically every input can be routed to every output, but also we have sends, up to 8 sends for every channel to be sent to whatever you want. So the SoundGrid system, I would say it's limited by your imagination.
Yeah, totally.
Because at the very end, you can create your own board, your own mixer board, however you want it to look like, and with the added power of the DSP processing, you can actually, I mean, create your own board with your own sound. Every channel could have a sound, you know. So that's pretty cool to me.
And I don't know many systems, if any, that can do this Ethernet protocol as well as the DSP.
Not that I know of.
Yeah, I don't know any.
I wouldn't. And it was a game changer for me for how fast it was to, like I told you, to deploy new interfaces in new places of the studio, but also to be able to record properly and quickly through this mixer page and to, let's say, even like the smaller monophonic synthesizer, like the Criterion guitar that I show you first, you know, that are mono, they can be enhanced by just a reverb or a delay. I can quickly put those in the insert and then record that and commit already. I'm a big fan of committing while recording.
Got it, okay.
So I don't wanna, I mean, I love the options of having, like, you know, keeping options open. And for like vocals, I wanna keep my option open, or for some key instrument, I would like, you know, sometimes to keep my, but to be able to commit before even hitting your DAW, to me, it's huge, you know, and with the quality of these plugins, you know, it's huge.
Hey, so why don't you tell us about the StudioRack part of this system?
Totally. StudioRack is a free plugin that you can instantiate inside your DAW of choice.
Okay.
In my case, it's Pro Tools, and you can see it right here. It's popping up on my master fader right now. And basically, it's a way of tapping into the DSP power of your server.
Nice.
So whatever plugin you're gonna instantiate inside StudioRack, it's not gonna be on your CPU, but it's gonna be on your DSP.
Nice.
Okay.
Very cool.
And you have a cool way of saving the whole chain of plugins. So let's say I put it right now on my master fader. Let's say you wanna create a typical master setup or something you want to put on your master. So you're going to run through, let's say, linear multiband, you know, to create, like, to shape a little bit your sound. And then you want to maybe compress a little bit more with a quick child. And then you want to, let's say, use an equalizer, use a Pultec or a Pultec-like equalizer, like the QuickTech EQP1A. And then, let's say, finish it with an harmonic generator like the Abbey Road Vinyl. And then finishing, like, and limiting with a L2 or L3 plugin. You can do all that, basically, inside the StudioRack, and you can save this as a preset.
Wow.
And all these plugins will not run on your CPU, but they will run on the DSP power of the server, so to offload all the power there.
That's so cool.
So imagine to save this as mastering setup 1, and to obviously to adjust this to your favorite preset. Mine is multi-electro mastering, and then, you know, adapting it to the level of what's coming in. And then actually, I think we can actually play like a beat that we were doing before, that we were having before. So something coming, and you can see how fast all the plugins react, you know? So we can try to simulate that and to get this, to cut a little bit of the offending frequency, and then like having the quick child react a little bit.
Yeah, there you go.
And then having the Pultec give us more low end and more high end, let's say, quickly. And then the vinyl can use like, I don't know, like mastering starting point, just to give more rounded sound, and then to finish it with a L3 with a slight, compression here. Okay, and all this can be quickly saved, and more than that, I can save it as a chain. I can also save in every single plugin, the setting.
Within the chain, you're
totally.
saving all the presets.
And also, I have a very
amazing.
handy input and output control here,
Nice, yep.
just not to overload the whole chain,
Yep.
both in input and in output, So this is pretty cool, and considering that it's tapping into the DSP power, it's actually pretty awesome, because, we're not using the CPU,
Yeah, because very quickly you have a couple of those and some virtual plugins and some
and
other
your
things.
CPU will, totally.
You're gonna get an error real quick.
And in my example, StudioRack was instantiated in my master bus, but think about putting like StudioRack on your buses, just on your guitars or just on your vocals, and create chains of like harmonic generators on vocals, de-essers, plus like parallel compression, and using those, tapping into the power of the DSP without that's a huge advantage when mixing, because you don't want to use like 150 plugins on your CPU and then have to do like late night overdub on the session and finding yourself, like desperate to get more power on the CPU. If you offload a bit of plugins inside the StudioRack system, inside your server, you're gonna actually be more, it's gonna be more convenient for you,
Absolutely.
So that's pretty cool. Saves a lot of time. And nowadays, we have to save time. We need to make, same amount of music in less time.
Yeah, I can't thank you enough for having us here. And
thank you for coming. It was a pleasure to show you around the studio and everything.
Really awesome. So thank you very much,
Thank
Michele.
you. Thank you.